Good morning, barely morning. It's 11:55 a.m. on December 14th, a Tuesday afternoon, 2021. This video is in response to an issue that one of my regular viewers is having on his computer. I originally became aware of it by an email that he sent me, and then there's been some conversations in the chat room during live streams that I've had, and I know that some of the other viewers on my channel have had correspondence with Chris as well. Now this is going to be more than just responding to Chris's issue. Well, let's go show you what he's reporting here. This was his email. Hey Doug, I'm watching your stream right now. Make that a little bigger, I guess. I have a similar laptop I got from a friend. It seems to have issues with the DC jack, and also the USB ports are broken. It's an Inspiron 5000. My friend said I could have it, and I got a free 500 gigabyte SSD. He didn't want that back either, but I'm sure you know it's fairly easy to fix. Some of the work that's been doing has been installing drivers. He's reinstalled Windows 10. And I'm sad to say, I think all of that was wasted effort. There's been talk about his Thunderbolt drivers and installing Thunderbolt drivers, and he's been dealing with that and having a difficult time getting that to install. Well, turns out, by virtue of a video that he sent me, he doesn't have Thunderbolt. Or if he does have Thunderbolt, it's on the other side of the computer, and it's not related to the problem that he's reporting. I'm going to show a still frame image from the video that he sent. Let's make this full screen. Here there are two USB ports. These are type A ports. This one is labeled SS, that's for super speed. And over here shows SS, super speed. And then it has a little emblem there of a battery, and that refers to power share. I'm going to show that in the manual. These are not Thunderbolt ports, and I'm going to be showing the identification for that in a little bit. So he's reporting, and I didn't know it until he sent this video, that he's connecting an external drive enclosure to the back USB port, and it works. He can access the drive. When he plugs that drive enclosure into the front port, it does not work. He can get a little responsiveness from the light when he wiggles the cable a little bit. And I believe what's happening here is that this port on the back is just outputting more power than the USB port in the front. And I think that's because of this battery indicator. This battery indicator for power share, it's designed so that you can actually charge an external device while the computer's turned off until the battery power reduces to a certain. I also think that if he uses a different cable for his external power, like this one here, let's see if I'm showing this well. Yeah, this is a similar cable for this type of a device. And so this end would plug into the external adapter, which would be like this. There's a variety of different types of connectors that are used for this, but some of the cables that come with these devices has two USB-A's on the other side, so that you can plug into two USB ports in order to provide more power to this device. A single connector on this side is going to work fine if that USB-A port is providing enough power. Now, Chris, I think if you'll plug, I don't think you've ever told me this, I don't recall it anyway, if you plug a mouse or a keyboard, a USB mouse or keyboard into this first port, I think it's going to work fine. So I'd like for you to try that and see. I think this USB port is fine. I'm going to show more about why I think this port on the back is providing more power and what a Thunderbolt port looks like. So to do that, I'm going to go to the next tab I have set up here. I haven't scripted this video, but I've prepared a little bit going along these tabs. This is a question and answer section on Dell's website that gives some conveniently laid out information about USB ports. So here across these tabs is showing USB 1.x, USB 2.0, USB 3.0, USB 3.2 Gen 1, USB 3.2 Gen 2, and USB Type-C. Now that's not all the USBs that we've had. There's a 3.1 that's missing from there. We'll get to that. So this, now I'm going to go a little bit more into USB ports, not specifically related to Chris's issue, but I think it's good to get this content out. So here's what a USB Type 1 port looks like. It looks just like any USB that you're accustomed to seeing. It's the same shape. It has that tongue inside the port. Then, and here's what the plug looks like. Up here it shows it had data rates of 1.5 megabytes per second on the low end, 12 megabytes per second on the high end. As we go through these, I'm going to be focusing on the speed of these because that was a significant difference between these. Then USB 2.0, the Type A port looks the same as it did with USB 1. USB 2.0 resolved several usage. It increased the signaling rate to 480 megabits per second. Remember back here we were 1.5 megabits per second. So that's a huge leap. However, due to constraints with the bus, the effective signaling rate was either 35 megabytes per second or 280 megabits per second. Now this is poor design of them to do this way. Megabytes and megabits is not the same standard of measure. Basically a byte is 8 bits. So comparing 35 megabytes and 280 megabits per second is an extra level of confusion. There's enough confusion of all this different USB stuff. USB 2.0 also introduced several modifications, such as the introduction of both micro and mini specifications and the high-low power ports. So here we have a mini B port. They don't have the letter B here, but it is B, and that's what it looks like. A micro B port, it looks like this. It's a little hard to see from there, and here's what the plug looks like. And then a Type B port. So this is a USB 2.0 Type B port. They have Type A, they have Type B. Why didn't they call these Type C and Type D? That probably would have been convenient to keep the same naming convention. But these are all in the USB 2.0 category. Now when we get to 3.0, I don't think they show what the mini 3.0 port looks like, or the mini 3.0 and the micro 3.0 port. They basically are a bit larger. They have a similar shape, but a bit larger. The micro port has an extra section next to it. And the Type B 3.0 port has like an extra square on top of this, what turns out to be larger square. That's very unfair to say it that way, and actually I had one of those cables nearby, but I don't think it's quick enough for me to grab hold of it. Let's move on to USB 3.0, standard defined by the new super speed. I want to point out that term super speed. Some USB ports have the letter SS next to them. Well, that's for super speed. 5.0 gigabits per second, backwards compatible with the 2.0 devices. Communication is full duplex, meaning communications can go back and forth over that connection. It's reasonable to expect signaling rates from 3.2 gigabits per second and 4.0 gigabits per second. While the center of this port was often colored blue, this convention was not kept 100% by all manufacturers. So when this first started coming out, I was expecting, okay, they're always going to be blue. And then I started seeing other colors, and then I started seeing them black, that you couldn't tell that they were a 3.0 port at all. And then within the 3.0 ports, there's different variations. It could be unpowered, it could be a dual port D-Bay, in which case they have a little kind of letter D next to them. Powered, low power, high power, Dell power share, and a Type C. Now this was kind of surprising to see, is this could actually have a Type C connector and still be USB 3.0. Type C connector has an oval shape to it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Then we go to 3.2 Gen 1, the USB Implementers Forum. Implementers Forum, that's IF. So here, USB-IF, Implementers Forum, has replaced the previous naming convention with USB 3.2 Gen 1. The old naming convention was USB 3.1 Gen 1 or USB 3.0. So let me point out, in this blank area here, there is no USB 3.1 showing on this chart. There is a USB 3.0. So this 3.2 Gen 1, to some extent, replaces the USB 3.0. USB-IF have removed the 3.1 definition and updated it to 3.2. So that's why it doesn't appear up here. It's been removed. This is to align more consistently with the latest USB Type-C specifications. There are no other naming changes between these two sets of specifications. 3.2 Gen 1 is 3.0 plus all the changes that have been made to 3.0 over the years. There's been little modifications and variations and extra features added to 3.0 over the years. So this 3.2 Gen 1 replaces the 3.0 that has all the extra modifications. I think the original 3.0 on a computer that didn't have all those extra features probably is still referred to as 3.0. Systems with legacy 3.0 ports are now 3.2 Gen 1. Okay, let's take that back a little bit. So legacy 3.0, if they have the 3.0 without any of the extra features, then they are now 3.2 Gen 1. I'm still coming up to speed with this. This is a really confusing environment. Now, 3.2 Gen 1 can also be referred to as USB super speed when compared to USB 2.0. It has maximum bandwidth of 5 gigabits per second. 3.2 Gen 1 can either be legacy Type A ports or they can be the new Type C ports. So they could be that oval and still be 3.2 Gen 1. USB Type-C ports that meet only the Gen 1 specification can support data transfer and USB power delivery. Power delivery, that means they're delivering power over the USB port. So here we're seeing 3.2 Gen 1. They can be Type A ports or they can be Type C ports. Here we're being shown a Type C port, and over here we're being shown a Type A plug. I don't think that's that. I wish they would have identified that here. And they're showing the designation of super speed, and they're showing the standard. Long time we've had this pictograph of a USB port, and I call it a cactus. It looks like a desert cactus to me. Then let's go on to 3.2 Gen 2. The USB Implementers Forum has replaced the previous naming convention with USB 3.2 Gen 2. The old naming convention they're referring to here is USB 3.1 Gen 2 or USB 3.0 with the added features. USB-IF have removed the 3.1 definition and updated 3.2. This is to align more consistently consistently with the latest USB Type-C specification. There are no other naming changes between these two sets of specifications. USB 3.2 Gen 2 can be referred to as USB Super Speed Plus. When compared to USB 2.0, it has a maximum bandwidth of 10 gigabits per second. So we've doubled from the Gen 1 level. USB 3 Gen 2 is only found with USB Type-C connections and has the capabilities that are mentioned in USB Gen 1 plus the following. So grab a hold of this. If you see a USB port on a computer and it has that oval shape, that means it's Type-C. But is it 3.2 Gen 1 or is it 3.2 Gen 2? You don't know just by looking at the port. So it has the capabilities mentioned in USB, well, this says Gen 1. That should say USB 3.2 Gen 1 plus the following. It can double the data rate of 3.2 Gen 1. So it's 10 gigabits per second instead of 5 gigabits per second. It can provide DisplayPort over USB video capability. So this means you can plug in to this USB 3.2 Gen 2 port and provide DisplayPort to a DisplayPort monitor. I've never tried this. I think I've heard of it. So this is telling me you can plug a Type-C cable into there that on the other side has a DisplayPort connector for the monitor. So that gives you a second monitor capability. The USB Type-C port on USB 3.2 Gen 2 computers can be paired with an optional Thunderbolt 3 controller. Now this is what Chris has been going after, trying to install a Thunderbolt driver on his laptop. But the USB port he's dealing with is clearly not a Type-C port. And the Thunderbolt is only going to be available in some cases on a Type-C port. It has to be a Type-C port that is USB 3.2 Gen 2. And I think there's additional requirements that it has to be provided by the manufacturer. And we're going to see that a little bit on the documentation for his computer, because Thunderbolt is optional on his computer. It's in the manual for his computer, but it's optional. And I don't think he has it, unless it's on the other side of the computer. But then again, that's not the port he's having trouble with. They can attain speeds up to 40 gigabits per second. Huge jumps with each of these. The last we were looking at was the 10 gigabits per second. Now we're jumped to 40 gigabits per second. So now here again, they're showing us the Type-C port, and they have the number 10 here. That's a clue on the computer, and this is where you might be able to tell by looking at the port if it has the number 10 there. Then that tells it is 3.2 Gen 2. Would have been nice if it said 3.2 G2, right? So that is clearly a 3.2 Gen 2 port, and I'm going to say also that would indicate Thunderbolt. But now look over here for the plug. Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong that they showed this plug here. We're looking at 3.2 Gen 2, and right up here we're shown that it's only Type-C connections. That is a Type-A connection. And we come up here to USB Type-C, and this is going to talk to us about that port. Here's what the port looks like on the computer. And I have one on this laptop right here. And then here's what the plug looks like for that. The work being done on Type-C is to replace the current standard with a new future-proof revision. This new type port is not backwards compatible with the older versions and is a new connector shape with the speeds of USB 3.2. See, it has the speeds of 3.2 Gen 2, but even it's higher than the 3.2 Gen 1. It also comes with additional improvements. It delivers improved power over USB connections. The connector size is small, which should mean one socket across all devices. It supports alternate modes, which helps when using adapters on the socket for other connection types. The connector cannot be plugged in upside down due to its new design. Well, I might have worded that a little different. It can be plugged upside down, but it doesn't matter. You can plug it in. You can plug it in either way. You can plug it in upside down, but it doesn't matter. So it cannot be plugged in incorrectly. How do you tell which is upside down or right side up? I don't think there is a way to tell. Now, something they don't say here is that this port can be used to provide power to the computer. And I've seen some laptops come through with that, where their AC adapter that plugs into the wall, the end that plugs into the computer, is a Type-C connector. And I don't think I've experimented with this, but the ports that I've looked at, they're not labeled differently. I think you can plug into any of the ports to provide power to the laptop. And it's possible some specific laptops that might not be true. They might have one identified as for the AC adapter. I'm not certain on that point. Now, one thing I want to get across with this is these standards are not really standardized. You can't always assume what you're seeing is going to behave the way that you're expecting it to. Now, in Chris's case, that battery indicator, I'm suspecting that is providing more power than the front one. Now, I have this power meter for USB ports, and I tried that on several of my USB ports that I have around the house here. And I found some variation of voltages. After I did that, I looked closer at this and I realized that it says USB 2.0. And I thought that I had bought a 3.0. I went back and looked at the purchase information for this, and the purchase information did identify it as 3.0. I did not receive what I had ordered, so it's not actually showing me the right power output. Now let's go look at a difference here between these ports. Coming here to the next page. So here's Type A. Here's what they look like. Here's the USB 2.0. There's 4 pins on the USB 2.0. USB 3.0, super speed USB, has 9 pins. There's those 4 pins plus 5 recessed pins. I took a photograph of 2 of them that I have here. So I'm going to come over here and show this. Let's start with this red one. I'm going to zoom in on that. There's the 4 connectors. They're pretty easy to see. Little gold-plated conductors. Then you can see them when you look inside a USB 2.0 plug. Now this one is colored red. And like I said before, when the colors, the USB 3.0 were coming out blue, and then I saw yellow, and I saw white, and I saw red, and for a while I was assuming that if it had one of those colors, it was 3.0. It's not the case. I'm going to come back here to this blue one. This blue one is a 3.0, and it has the additional connectors. So here's those same 4 gold-plated conductors. And then between them, these recessed pins, these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So you can look inside a port, and if you see the conductors for those extra 5 pins, then you're looking at a 3.0 port or a 3-point-something port. All of the 3-point-something ports are going to have those extra 5 conductors. The Type B 2.0 Type B looks like this, and here's what the 3.0 Type B looks like. And there is a version of that that is powered, and it has a couple extra pins on the sides. And these are pins up here. I have those on a lot of external backup drives that I use. The Type C plug has this oval shape. There's 12 pins times 2. So I haven't tried zooming in on one of those. So does that mean a total of 24 pins? Not entirely sure. And then here's the mini USB, mini B, and this mini A is discontinued. I think I have a few of those around here from old devices. So that's the mini B 2.0, and they're not showing us a mini B 3.0. Here's a micro 2.0, has this shape to it, and then the 3.0 micro. I mentioned earlier that it has what looks like the first basic shape plus an extra shape to the side of it. And then here's a micro A, and the 2.0 version and the 3.0 version. So we just have lots of stuff. Now let's go look at some more stuff regarding Chris's computer. So here's Dell's website, Chris's service tag number, and it's a Latitude E5570. When you come to their documentation tab, that's what I'm on right here. I know he spent some time on the drivers and download because he's downloaded the drivers for the Thunderbolt. And I think the Dell driver installation did not install the Thunderbolt drivers for his computer, and perhaps he thought he has to do it manually. Well, I'm saying no, Dell didn't install it because he doesn't have a Thunderbolt port. Scroll down here, manuals and documents. So I've opened a couple of these manuals on my next tabs. Here's the owner's manual. I think that's what I have over here. Looking up here, yes, owner's manual. Now I've done a search, Control F for Thunderbolt up here in the upper right corner. So it's highlighting over here the first Thunderbolt item. This is an optional feature. I'm saying Chris doesn't have it. If he does, it's on the other side of the laptop that I don't think he showed in the video. But it's not the port that he's reporting having troubles with. This section of the owner's manual is telling about settings changes in the BIOS. So you can actually enable the Thunderbolt port, but it's enabled by default. If you have it, this whole section in the BIOS settings has to do with USB, and it has to do with Thunderbolt. So it's not just Thunderbolt, but it's the Thunderbolt that is optional. And we're going to see more substantiation of that at another place. So I'm going to click to go to the next occurrence of Thunderbolt. There's a few of them on this page that we're looking at. And then down here, docking port. Docking has two options. You can use an e-docking port or optional Thunderbolt 3 cable docking port. Let's go on to the next Dell document that I have open, and this is the quick start guide. I'm going to zoom back out to show this overall page. So this shows the ports on his computer. Here's the two USB Type A ports. He was reporting this one in the front would not work with the external drive enclosure. The one in the back does. 12 and 13. So if I scroll down here, we see 12 is USB 3.0 connector with power share. That's that battery symbol that we saw. We'll go look up power share in a moment. I'm going to highlight that, press Control C to copy that into my clipboard. And the number 3, the 13 is USB 3.0 connector, but it doesn't have the power share. I think he's getting more power output from the port that has the power share feature. If I scroll over here to the left to see the left side of this computer, here's a port 24. And then scroll over here to the listings and we see that 24 is a Thunderbolt 3 connector optional. His computer might not have that port. Even if it does, That's not the port he's having trouble with. If his computer does not have that Thunderbolt port, then he should uninstall the Thunderbolt driver that he has installed. I'm going to press Control F and come up here to this search field in the upper right, then press Control V to paste PowerShare and see what the instructions tell us about PowerShare. Let's zoom this back out. Click to go to the next occurrence of PowerShare. I want to get to, oh, the textual isn't in this one. I have to go back over here to this document, the owner's manual, and I'll search PowerShare there. Here, USB PowerShare. This field configures the USB PowerShare feature. This option allows you to charge external devices using the stored system battery power through USB PowerShare port. So I think in those, probably in those additional 5 pins that are on both of these ports, because they're both 3.0 ports. But I think he's getting extra power through this port because it is this PowerShare port. I'm going to click to go to the next occurrences of those. Here it's showing USB ports, 2 USB 3.0 ports, 1 USB 3.0 with PowerShare. So this doesn't show a USB Type-C port or USB 3.2 port. Doesn't show that he has that. I think that about wraps it up. If you'd like to send an email to me about support, free support that you'd like to have, I usually like to do it with a person in a Zoom session or at least in the chat room at the time. There have been some occasions like this where somebody sends me a good informative email and pictures, in this case video, where I can really see what was going on, because if I only responded to him based upon his text descriptions in the emails, I would not have seen the answer to the problem. The answer to the problem was seen, I believe, when I could see the video where he's showing me these are the ports that he's having trouble with, and I know he's been trying to do Thunderbolt drivers for this. Now I also want to mention Thunderbolt, sometimes on the next to a USB port you'll see a lightning bolt. That's not Thunderbolt, that's a lightning bolt. Now in meteorology, lightning bolt is a real thing. I'm not sure that Thunderbolt is a real thing in meteorology. You can have thunder, but that's sound. And it comes from lightning occurring. That's what creates the thunder. But Thunderbolt, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But when you see that on a PC, you're best to go look at the manufacturer's documentation for that computer, because I don't think you can count on that being consistent from one computer to another. And I think what that is indicating is that that port has additional power, or perhaps that it has power when the computer is turned off. It provides power to a USB device. I don't have that one in front of me right now, and I've seen it before. I don't know that I've ever looked it up. Anyway, there's the email address if you want to contact me for something like that. I do not advertise providing free tech support by private email exchanges. I'm only providing free support when I get to create a video out of it somehow that can be seen by other people. I hope that's been useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.